How is UNICEF managing with its mission?
As a UNICEF, we are a supportive agency.
Specific strategies क्या हैं in rural Uttar Pradesh?
And we have made a strategy, but still we need to reach to the level where we talk health for all.
The health and education budget must be a priority. AI seems to be the buzzword in almost anything.
If you're not adopting AI, you're really going to be left behind and you really don't belong to this world. Everybody understands that.
You also talk about cities becoming medical hubs for medical tourism. How does this help and how does this work?
And you see UP as perhaps #1 state in India.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. We in the previous session we briefly touched upon health, and this session will be a deep dive into what transformation can happen in the health sector. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. I want to first begin by asking Dr. Zakir Adam, as the chief of UNICEF in Uttar Pradesh, how much of Hindi, Awadhi, Bhojpuri, Maithili, Braj, this is a huge state. Does the state come as a rude shock, surprise, a pleasant surprise? What does this state do to you?
Thank you very much. Hindi बहुत कठिन है ये really afflicts तो मैं सीख रहा हूँ थोड़ा थोड़ा. Fantastic. That well, brilliant. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Well done.
But seriously, the expanse of this state, when you came here, when you were deputed here, did you, of course, you must have known about the state, how huge it is, but when you look at the diversity, the challenges and the opportunities, how is UNICEF managing with its mission?
Not very straightforward, but also really exhilarating for UNICEF because as a UNICEF, we are a supportive agency. So the real secret of going forward is to invest in partnership, is also to know that really from what I've seen in Uttar Pradesh here as compared to many other countries where I worked, there is a strong leadership where you are working and supporting people who know where they are heading to. That is making it very, very much easier than for you to. So the driving seat is there and the leader is there. So the technical support is made very straightforward.
How nice.
Yeah.
Dr. Joel, मिशन डायरेक्टर फॉर एनएचएन, सेक्रेटरी मेडिकल हेल्थ एंड फैमिली वेलफेयर, हमने देखा अभी डॉक्टर घोष ने भी काफी उल्लेख किया आपका, आपके विजन का, आपके काम का. मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि स्पेसिफिक स्ट्रेटजीज क्या हैं इन इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एंड एक्सपेंडिंग हॉस्पिटल्स एंड स्ट्रेंथनिंग प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर एक्सेस, particularly in rural Uttar Pradesh.
The last few years, NHM is taking the leap forward in the sense that we have made a strategy how the gaps to be filled. So if we see in 2017 and 2025, all the parameters, indicators, there is a very good job. But still we need to reach to the level where we talk of health for all, a universal health. So we are working on 4 different strategies. First is that saturation is an issue. There is lots of gaps in different arenas, whether it is infrastructure, diagnostics, your human resource availability, quality medicines, and further progressing for the future, like new addition is an AI. Saturation is the one aspect. Second is making the things functional. We have lots of facilities, especially in rural areas, making them functional actually, filling these gaps, using these gaps. Once they're functional, then there should be quality in that functional aspect. So third is a qualitative improvement. So we are working on quality, like NQAS certification and National Quality Assurance. They give us certificates on the state level. So happily I can just tell about the health department's achievement is that it was in a single digit in the last 2 years. Now our facilities are approximately 9,000 facilities are APOA certified, state as well as national, including both. And the fourth one is after quality, we want to expand further, and that has to be sustained. See, once you get a quality certification and then it goes back, it's of no use. And then the latest technologies, upgradations, we have to think merging the primary sector from the rural point of view. Abhi, Dr. Major General Datta has spoken about Ayushman Arogya Mandirs at the population of 5,000 people. We have one Ayushman Arogya Mandir with the CHO posted over there and then ANM. Quality services if we can give to them. We are thinking of a general practitioner point of view in the futuristic point and incorporating AI into it and our IT enabled services like teleconsultation is there in each and every Ayushman Arogya Mandir. Approximately 75,000 teleconsultations are given in a day. Then NCD is the futuristic disease patterns we have to study like NCD, diabetes, hypertension, heart diseases, kids having issues in behavioral issues, mental health, geriatric, palliative, our environment related issues. So climate changes are there, leading to lots of different diseases. Zoonotic disease, the One Health mission has come. So we are working on the futuristic and simultaneously in the lower level and simultaneously towards the centers of excellence at different levels, which my ACSR has already spoken about it. Various missions we are thinking of. Cancer, MMR, thinking of NMR, including emergency, the maximum deaths happen because of the accidents. So ambulance services and along with ambulance services, the trauma care centers are important. So it's a holistic thing. We have still a long way to go, but we have improved a lot in last few years. So primary is the base. If we can really make our schemes percolate to the lowest strata of the society, in that society, to the marginalized sections of the society, to the women, to the children, otherwise ignored. So that is our basic agenda, and it is tough, complex, but achievable because we have a very good team. We have the blessings of Honorable Chief Minister. He has given us freedom to work. Our Deputy Chief Minister sir has given a freedom to us to work in the future. We have increased our budgets. Let me tell you, this first time we have got 1,000 crore has been increased in specific components of the new schemes. It has never happened in India anywhere that NHM has got funding through the state fund. It's a good thing. Our Honorable Chief Minister has requested Government of India for increasing the budget of NHM. This is how we are sensitive about the things. If we can make the universal health for all, not on the equitable basis, based on the equity. So I think that is the vision we have for us with the long run. And we are working with our partners like UNICEF, WHO, UNDP, and other partners. The approximate 38 partners are working with us. Private partnerships we have included like dialysis, CT scan. We are working on very other different new patents. Hospitals has been given to the private partners like MCH Veins. MMR has been reduced. Let me tell you, 2017 it was 216. Now with the latest SIS data, it is 141. And the State Transformation Commission, Manoj sir has instructed us to, we have to bring it to single digit. We have to beat Kerala, which have the state have 18. So that's how we are working on a very strong mission more. Hopefully with the guidance and the support of all, we are going to achieve something good. Thank you.
It's interesting that you say this, Madam Joel, because for any state to progress, the health and education budget must be a priority. So when you say that the health budget has seen a boost, is definitely a very encouraging sign, I must say. Thank you so much. Dr. Soin, AI seems to be the buzzword in almost anything. Its use in healthcare, medicine, and a role of private players. You see, international government will do its bit, but then private participation is also equally important. So I just want to know, what can you share from your experience on using technology to make a more sustainable and a better healthcare system in a state like Uttar Pradesh?
Thank you, Sanket. Thank you, Times of India, for having me on this panel. So, if you're not adopting AI, you're really going to be left behind, and you really don't belong to this world. Everybody understands that. But really, it's I was listening to this podcast by Boris Janbi, who's made the Claude AI engine, and he says it took him 2.5 years and 25 engineers to make it, and today it would take him 5 engineers and 12 months to make it, and after 6 months it would take him 1 engineer and 3 months to make it. So that tells you how human resource can actually be used more effectively with the use of AI to ease every workflow in life, including healthcare. And it'll also democratize access to healthcare. So specifically speaking, let's say I work in a tertiary care, ordinary care hospital. So in our system, AI is actually percolated into a lot of spares. So diagnostics, specifically endoscopy, pathology, in preparing notes for patients, in preparing operative notes, discharge summaries, the voice to text, the ORM platform, to use them routinely. AI is also used for algorithms in research and working out what molecules work best in cancer or any other kind of research. So research labs use it all the time. It's called something like Alt F. So that's the thing that people use to earmark or target the kind of molecules they should be researching on. It is also used for post-operative care monitoring. It is actually percolated into literature search and making PowerPoint presentation. It's basically there everywhere. And I think that if you want to basically progress in 2026 at the rate things are going in every other field, AI in healthcare has to be completely integral. What private institutions can actually do is, what we are good at is operational and management skills and excellence. So we can share that. We are good in super specialty care, with or without the help of AI, and we can actually leverage that for public-private partnerships. As I gather, UP is already proposed to set up some medical colleges with PPP models, so we can actually leverage our expertise there. And also, I mean, I'm a liver transplant surgeon, for example, so I helped the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which is my alma mater, to set up liver transplantation. We could do such things for government institutions here, because when private enterprise combines with public, then there's obviously scale in terms of patient volume, and there is sharing of resources, which cuts down the cost. So access can improve, quality can improve, and the cost can be actually reduced. So it doesn't mean that if you take private care specialists, they will charge a bomb. It doesn't have to be like that. I did the AIMS program, liver transplant program, pro bono for about 9 years. So all of us have that sentiment in us, and we'd love to be involved in teaching, in research, and in super specialty clinical care.
Not many people would know that Dr. Bagai right now is in his place of birth. He was born in Lucknow, so how does it feel to be back?
Thank you, the organizers, for inviting me. So Lucknow is where I was born. So it's been a journey since. Land of untold opportunity, UP. A lot of them still to be achieved, but mystery, good food, great culture, great heritage, great people, and let's dig straight into this. So do you?
Absolutely. You have been speaking and have been an open advocate of innovation in health technology, right? You've spoken about it a lot. You also talk about cities becoming medical hubs for medical tourism. How does this help and how does this work?
Okay. So I think it's important that everyone in the audience and all the viewers who are watching this understand what the journey of UP has been. So 75 odd districts, 25 crores. It would have been the fifth or the sixth largest country if it was standalone, so to say. Uh, 30,000 medical facilities, 208 teaching colleges, out of which 80 odd are medical colleges, 4,500 ambulances, 75 out of 75 districts have hemodialysis. I mean, that's some kind of achievement in the last 10, 15 years. This kind of rapid progress is rarely seen in other parts of India. 74 out of 75 districts have CT scans with not much waiting. In fact, this outdoes even Delhi. It is the only state which has two AIIMS. One in Gorakhpur, I had the fortune of visiting it last year. It's come up beautifully. The one in Lucknow is coming up soon. It has 11,600 medical seats out of 1.2 lakhs and about 17,000 hospitals, out of which 73,000 doctors and almost 3 lakh medical beds. Now, when you look at the healthcare indices, when I was researching for this talk, UP stands number 9 amongst 36. So that's not bad for a state which is so populous and so widespread. 4 or 5 things which I would like to mention where we can go further. So I'll give you 2 very quick examples. There's a place known as Pittsburgh in US and there's a place known as Ohio in US. So University of Pittsburgh is now one amongst the meccas of teaching and education and medical. And Ohio is again a great place where lots of universities have come up. So Pittsburgh was the glass and steel capital of the world till the great crash happened and then the world wars came. After that, they thought how to bring about the economy of the entire region in the city. So it took them good 15, 20 years. But today, they are the medical and educational hub. They call themselves EdMed. There are 29 standalone teaching hospitals in a small place, smaller than UP and smaller than Lucknow. And Ohio is a place, I don't know if anyone would know, is where the word Jeep was coined, the SUV. Jeep was coined after World Wars was in Ohio. And that industry crashed and again they went into EdMed. So UP has land, UP has Calis, UP has resources, UP has Aditya. G. This is a place where you can make educational medical cities. Not only for medical tourism, but understanding that healthcare is the largest employer in India outside defense and railways. A standalone 500-bed hospital employs 2,500 employees, including doctors. One bed is 5 employees. So you can actually create employment, give healthcare to the local region, attract patients from across the world. International medical tourism in India is booming. Dr. Soin will bear me out. We have more than 2 million patients coming in every year. 13 billion is the exchequer revenue into India every year. So this can be doubled, this can be tripled. So second important point is that we must embrace technology. It's a no-brainer. AI gives you operational excellence. It gives you a better ROI financially. It gives you a better patient experience, the customer experience, the client experience, the patient experience is better. It gives you error-free medication. So human errors or calculation errors goes out of the window and hospital-induced infection or hospital-acquired infection goes out. So there are lots of benefits of technology and AI, what we call as digital smart hospitals. And lastly, most importantly, no state, no country can progress. Our aim together combined is 2047 is to be Viksit Bharat. Some of us will be alive. Our next generations will be alive. The mental state of children, adolescents, teenagers, and women especially is extremely important to address. And in this regard, I must add that from Delhi, starting next month, I'm starting a standalone venture which is addressed on mental wellness and well-being of adolescent, teenagers, and women. And it's under the name of Zen Ray. Zen is the next generation. Ray, R-E is ray of light. It's universal practice, universal light. And in this context, I think we must understand that 14.5% of all Indians have some sort of mental disorder. 15% of all women postpartum have depression. I think it's important to address this, bring the skeletons out of the closet, And it's okay to say, I'm feeling low. I'm not quite well. It's very fashionable to say, I have a cough. Someone will say, have you got a pulmonary function test? Go to a pulmonologist. But it's not that acceptable still in this part of the world to say, listen, I'm feeling low. Can I go and see a counselor or a psychologist? I think that stigma, that isolation, that fear, the feeling of being unwanted, the feeling of being sidelined from the main society has to be spoken about and demolished. Unless and until India is not mentally strong nation, we cannot become an economically superpower. And I think in this regard, I would love to partner with the government of UP to take this forward. Pan UP, mental health, physical health, women and children. 36%, I'll just take 1 minute more. 36% of Indian population is pediatrics. And beyond the adolescent age, 30% is women. If you're only looking at what we call as WAC, that is women and children, you're capturing 68% of the Indian population. That needs attention. A healthy child is a healthy adolescent, is a healthy adult. A bad pregnancy in terms of health is a premature baby, low for birth weight baby with huge amount of complications in terms of organs, and you are catching up for life after that. So it's prevent, early diagnosis, early intervention. Mental health is a thing which UP must focus on. Would love to partner with you. Over to you.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Sainwani.
I just want to add to how health and economy are so interrelated. Everybody's saying the same thing. So health, I mean, obviously, if you don't have healthy humans, there's nobody to do work to actually help the economy. So health is basically a foundation to any economy. And if people are healthy, they'll be productive, there'll be less work days lost, they'll be more cognitively alert. They will be basically the, they will actually they'll be contributing to GDP much longer. So they will be having a much more longer economic life. So health and economy are very, very closely interrelated. The other thing is when people from abroad, when countries or institutions want to set up tech hubs and plants and factories, they actually look for places where there's good healthcare for their employees. So there is that security that they seek. And that's why good healthcare not only attracts medical tourism, but it also attracts good talent and capital for the economy to grow.
Just 5 seconds. If you combine what Dr. Soin has been saying, all of us have been saying, you combine medical tourism with recreational tourism. I mean, look what Ayodhya has done. It's a go-to destination. Raebareli, Lucknow for that example, Gorakhpur for that example. Convert one major city into a recreational and medical tourism hub, and you'll see UP as perhaps #1 state in India or perhaps Southeast Asia.
Lots of suggestions for the government here, Dr. Joel, and I can see her very diligently noting everything down. So that is a good sign. Here, you tend to forget. Dr. Joel?
Yes, sir. It is whatever you fix it by writing it, and you have to fix that. So,
But these are valuable suggestions.
yeah, तो Dr. Bagai, आपकी बात के लिए I just extend the mental health. We are focusing on it very strongly. We have established a telemanas consultation place on. It's a telephonic one. The toll-free number is 14416, and we are getting almost 500 plus calls per day. And our member Niti Ayam, Dr. Vinod Paul sir, has tried from Delhi and he called that just to check even it's working or not. So he praised us and he gave the third prize to us. This is by just getting a call from him, the kind of response he had got it. And same way our ACS had checked it. The person was not disclosing what is his name, and we were praising him. You tell us, you give such a beautiful explanation of how you have to go about it. So we are aware of it, and recently we have thought of having a second Nimhans kind of situation organization in UP. So we have requested Nimhans to come and just give some mentorship to us. They're already with us in different aspects. We have lots of counselors in different schemes. I agree with you. A healthy individual is a productive individual, and then it is an asset to the country. Secondly, I agree to the medical tourism concept also, and government is already working on it, and different PPP models as well as the districts they have already identified. They're working on it, and then agreed. We can be a good hub for Middle East or for African countries or the other neighboring countries of Southeast Asia. At least we can start and we have a good future. I have worked in Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu have really worked on this medical tourism. So they have very good capacity. From Haryana, I've seen in Gurgaon. So we have a good scope and we have a vision too. And the leadership has given us a freedom to think big and think ahead, and we should be the leader. We have a vision 2047 document, we had made it, and we are working how to make it actual to come on the, not on the paper, come in the field, let's say. Out of pocket expenditure, you linked with the economy. So out of pocket expenditure reduction is the biggest target, which is the PMJY, the Ayushman Card Yojana is there. Our budget has doubled from the last year. Which was almost 13 to 1500 crores, and now it is 30,000 plus crores. And we are expanding further, and the beneficiaries have doubled than the last year. We have enrolled various service staffs from the government setup like ASHA. They have been included, and we are working on other sections of the government employees who are really poor. Our upgradation in the medical colleges, I don't see the medical colleges, but I would like to represent it. We had 81 medical colleges now, and the quality is increasing. Definitely, we have a shortage of specialists and super specialists. I think in the next coming 5 years, UP will be the leader in HIC. This is what I feel.
Wow. Fantastic. My final question to Dr. Adam. How does something like an Ayushman Bharat align with the work that you do at UNICEF?
It is fully aligned because this is about health prevention in terms of security, of financial security for families. And to correlate it with what was said precedently regarding the prevention, it is very important that early access to health is really taken as approach by families. And when they feel secured financially, they feel happy to go to hospital. It is also important that it is helpful in terms of referral. They are referring much more than previously. And all effort put together, including Ayushman Bharat, I think is resulting into the expansion that we have seen in terms of institutional delivery, for example, where we jumped from 68% to 83% from NHS 4 to 5. This is a progress. We have seen also increase of 20% in terms of immunization. You know, immunization is one aspect, very cost-effective intervention to safeguard the children. Since we are talking of a future, here in this room, I think that the majority we have already consumed more than 50% of our lifetime. And when we are talking of future, it is basically about children we are talking. So for us to ensure that the future of Bharat is really ensured, it is good to invest in children. This is why for us in the UNICEF, primary health care, rural care is critically important. Critically important. And that also correlated with Ayushman Bharat. We can see that this one is going mostly for secondary and tertiary support. When on primary level, we need more reports. And finally, let me comment quickly about equity. Equity, and that we will see it again. I used to fight my technicians, health workers, when I hear them talk about hard to reach communities in terms of access. I say there is nothing like hard to reach communities. Maybe we are the ones that are hard to go where communities are. What I mean here is that in terms of our policies, our strategies, our way of doing things, we really needed to improve as duty bearers to ensure that quality is there. It's not only about numbers, figures that we are very happy to say, but we are also improving to ensure that unserved communities are touched with all these efforts we are having. Thank
Oh, nice. Thank you so much to all the doctors for joining us on this class. Thank you.